This is the Morning Mojo with Jeet
on Radio 44.
Well, we all know this. The UAN Leadership Summit was an absolute success. And there were two individuals over there who definitely made a mark for themselves at the summit. Isha Anand and Kushil Lakhani. And right now they are here, right here in the Radio 44 studios. And we are discussing something that we all have been feeling for a very long time, but perhaps we haven't had the bravery to go ahead and speak about things. Are we truly Kenyans? Are we living in a bubble? So, keep it right here on Radio 44. And remember, if you do have any queries, any questions, send them in 0758 123 444. And today, we're keeping it a little Kenyan, aren't we? We do have two phenomenal people in the studio with us right now, Kushil Lakhani and Isha Anand. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yes, I'm good. How are you?
We're good.
Yeah, good.
All right, so you guys did a phenomenal job at the UAN Leadership Summit, and definitely there were some topics over there that felt like it resonated with us. So are you guys ready? Can we go straight into it?
Let's jump in.
All right, are you ready?
Completely.
Okay, now, for starters, we all know as Radio 44 is called Radio 44, it's because we are indeed the 44th tribe. The question that I have is, do you truly feel like we are the 44th tribe? Do you feel like we're integrated into the Kenyan society? Or is this just a symbolic label?
Personally, I think we're very integrated into the system.
Okay.
Broader Kenyan society. Might be a personal opinion, but I think the integration comes in after you show a bit of your value yourself. And I really do feel Kenyan more than anybody else.
You do.
But maybe, I don't know. Let's see if you feel.
I think you're right. I think it's personal, right? I think it's, you can feel however integrated you want to. It's on you to put yourself in the society, embrace the African culture, embrace the language, embrace the food, embrace the fashion.
Okay.
So it's on you, really. It's a personal choice, I think.
And as much as you could speak the language, as much as we all enjoy our ugali and sukuma wiki, we all, have our Sheng slang and everything. At the end of the day, when you actually do see someone, okay, or let's say a matatu is passing by and your car is just about to step in, and when they call you Mwindi, do you feel integrated?
To be honest, I think I still feel integrated.
You still do?
Yeah, I still do. Maybe we've accepted that culture as well.
We have accepted it.
I think we've accepted it.
Accepted, or are we being complacent?
I don't know which one it is. Maybe I'll ask Kushil to go first. I had said he'd answer all the hard questions, so he can go first.
No, I mean, I think again, it's yes, you feel targeted, but you have to also understand why they are labeling you as that muindi, right? Or why they have that animosity, or why they have that kind of hatred.
Right.
You might not be the person treating them badly or excluding them from society, but you have to understand where they are coming from, and then maybe in that instance where you're being called muindi, flip it, laugh and say, what do you mean muindi? Yeah, I'm brown, so we're one damu, right? We're one blood. Blood is red, right? So I think it's how you react to that, which determines then how they will respond back.
Perfect. Now,
sorry, maybe another way to flip this up is, don't you think this happens within even communities itself? Because we ourselves say, he's Sikh, that's why he's like this. Or he's Gujarati, that's why he's like this. So I think there's you can see it from every perspective.
Every perspective. Yes. It's not just Kenny. Now, speaking of integration, I think one of the most important things when it comes to integration is from childhood, the environment you're raised in. That plays a huge role in all of us. And definitely, a lot of us started our schooling in private Asian schools. Do you think there's a particular reason why Asian families avoid the public schools in Kenya? Is it a matter of cultural preservation, or do you think it's because of a mistrust in the public education system?
I think for this, I'd say we want to socially protect our children, and that's what has been coming on for generations. I think it's the fear of the unknown. Not so much maybe looking at the schooling system, and that's what's been in history, but I think things are now starting to change. But I think schooling also depends on a lot of other factors. For example, your economic status, or what school could you actually afford to go to, what is close to your vicinity of where you stay. I think there's so many players in schooling. I don't think it's just one thing, but I know the history has been maybe social preservation of your child, or trying to protect your child from mingling with other cultures.
Do you think there's a sort of a misconception that, hey, your child is going to a public school, perhaps you're going through a financial problem? Do you think there's a misconception like that as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. I don't think it's a public versus private discrimination. I think, yes, financial status definitely has a part to play. Like, if you can afford a private school, why not? And even within private schools, there's that discrimination of, oh, you go to this school, that's a cheap private school.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think where the discrimination comes in is even within the private school system, there are certain schools which are typically more African oriented.
Yes.
And yes, I think there's a lot of discrimination in that parents wouldn't send, or Asian parents wouldn't send their kid to a more African-dominated private school.
They're in going ahead and putting in the clan mentality from childhood programming. All right, you know what? We will be back in this time. Keep it right here, because we're going to be talking about something a little more juicier. We're talking about bribery as well, and of course a look at politics in the Asian community. Good morning to you, and we do have two special guests with us right here in the studio, Isha Anand and Kushil Lakhani, and we are talking about the Asian culture and the fact that, well, it seems like there is a notion that we are living in a bubble. Now, first of all, can we address this question from Hina Parmar? And she talks about how she says it's disturbing. Frankly, as my daughter doesn't want to speak Gujarati at all. It's good that in her school they've made it a sort of compulsory, but of course she has no interest in it. So one thing that's going on in my mind is, are our children speaking our mother tongue, and how are we ensuring that our culture can continue? So what do you guys have to say about that?
Yeah, it's ask the Gujarati guy, right? I'll shamefully admit that I'm not the best Gujarati speaker.
Okay.
I understand it. It's not that I don't want to embrace the culture. It's nothing like that. But I think I know my mom and dad are listening, so I'm sorry, mom and dad. But I think you guys didn't instill that culture of you have to learn Gujarati, and you should learn it. And I think that there was at some point that culture of making sure your kids are learning the mother tongue is there, and it started going away. And so I am trying to embrace it more, and it's. I think someone at the summit said that you can never forget your mother tongue, and you should never forget it. And once you start forgetting it, then you're gonna pass that down to the generations below you. And so I think there is a lot of that happening at the moment, and it shouldn't be, to be honest.
Absolutely right, and I'm super concerned. I don't think you'll be served any dinner by mom and dad today. So yeah, you probably have a budget for ordering something in. Now, I got to ask you this question, all right? So a lot of us have had an experience where we've seen a horrible looking matatu that's completely looks like it shouldn't even be on the road, driving rash, and then there you are driving pretty all right, you get pulled over by the boys in blue. So do you believe that as Asians we are sort of targeted when it comes to bribery, and do you think this is a form of racial profiling, or are there other factors at play?
I'll still let Kushil go first, because I think I have a completely different opinion.
Different being a woman.
Kushil, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, there's there's a different bribe for brown people. We all know that. I think it's the going rate at the moment for minor offences is about 1,000 bob.
Where do you drive? They usually start at like 5,000 for me.
Yeah, I mean, and then if you're local, it's divide by 3. So, but I think it's the way the cops look at it. They're business people, right? So obviously, as a business person, you want to make that's your income for the day. So you want to make the most. So yeah, you see a brown person, that's rangi athao, right?
So there's this notion that we're probably more more successful. But funny enough, Bimal Kantaria, when he had the interview over here, he did mention that there are so many Asians who are below the poverty line as well. Yes. All right, I want to hear from you, Isha.
I don't know. I think being a lady maybe has an advantage. So when you're stopped on the road for bribes, you walk your way through it or you smile through it. I think it's also they're very lenient with ladies. So I'm not sure if it's entirely just an Indian thing or an Asian thing.
So you're saying that it's not just racial profiling, it's also sexism. That's exactly what I'm hearing.
Sort of. But I think there's also other factors. What car are you driving? How are you dressed? So I think they also weigh out how you are. And maybe more so we are affected, but I also feel like the locals may be affected with the same.
Yeah. Okay. Now, let's go on when it comes to politics. Now, first of all, of course, as you know, Indians have really played a significant role in Kenya. We have Sharad Rao, who's definitely done so much for the country and the judiciary system. Between 1896 and 1901, many of the police and army in Kenya were indeed Punjabis. We have some huge names, a lot of people. Of course, there was Naseeb Singh, there was Soki Joginder Singh as well, the Assistant Commissioner of Police. Bimal Kantaria also mentioned that there was an Indian party that got absorbed by KANU. It was the Kenya Indian Congress. Once it got absorbed, things just disappeared. And another significant name that we can look at, when you're looking at the bench of judges, we only have Aleem Vishram. That's the only Asian. So do you think, like, as Asians, we've been underrepresented in Kenyan politics, and why do you think that is?
I think we were involved quite heavily in politics. And recently, or rather, there was a time where Indians were stopped in being into politics. Today, I think things are changing. I think it's our own fear of getting involved in politics as an Asian community. I think we fear it, but also I think we need to understand it deeper to be able to get into it. There was a time where, you because of being Asian, you were probably not wanted, but I think now things are starting to change, and that's what I see personally.
I'm going to ask you this question, I already know the answer. Do you ever see an Asian, a person of Asian origin, being a deputy or a president of Kenya?
I do.
Do you?
I do.
What about you?
I think it's I think I see it, but I don't think it's very possible given the current state of politics. I think that the same way that I don't know how many years ago it was, but they kind of threw all the Asians out of government and told us that you stick to doing business. I think we can make our way in at the lower levels, but I don't know if it's possible for us to reach to that level. I'm not sure. And I don't know if it's a good thing.
Would that be because we fear it, or would that be because
it's too dirty? It's too dirty.
Do you think anyone would dare to go that route?
I think that's the other thing. I think that's where the fear comes in, right?
I think we got to develop courage to do so.
Okay, all right. I'm going to drop you this one. I think this, since we're all, well, except you. I can say you're somewhat at our age level. So I'm going to throw this one. And then when we come back, I also want to talk about, Are we truly in a bubble? I want to hear it from you guys. And first of all, got a message over here from Reza. Reza says a Somali will become a president before an Asian. They are integrating faster than us. Your thoughts?
Completely agree.
Completely agreed. Yeah, we have seen that. In fact, I feel like they are the ones who have done it more, which brings me to the question. You know, a lot of people say that Asians sort of live in a bubble. Okay, that means we stick to our kind, we stick to our culture, and we don't integrate at all. Do you think this is accurate?
Let me give you the Somali example as well.
Okay.
They stick to themselves as well. They move with communities. Wherever you see one, you will probably see eventually 50 or 100, and that's how they move. So they also stick to themselves. It's normal human behavior, and I think that's what Asians do as well.
Okay.
We tend to stick to our own, but what is missing is that integration factor.
Okay.
From a young age. We go to Asian schools, we stick to our people, and then we send our kids maybe to study out abroad. But then the child even experiences that culture shock, because now it's like I need to integrate myself with different cultures.
Yes.
And it might not necessarily be African, but you're mixing still with Spanish, French, Italian. I mean, the list is endless. Wherever you go. So I think we've lacked that integration from day one, and we've not nurtured our children into that from the start. But
so we're programmed.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're programmed. I'd like to hear what Kushil thinks.
I think the type of bubble we're talking about is maybe different. So I think the bubble we are talking about here, or we should be talking about, is the fact that we are not realizing that the impact of creating this sort of silos within our community is going to have not just on us now, but for the future generations. So I think that's the bubble we should be talking about. Like, are we living in that bubble? And what will happen when that bubble bursts, when the catastrophic effects of that bubble bursting will happen on us?
You know, I'm going to bring this up as well. I think even though we have been in this country for generations, we have definitely done so much for the country has done so much for us. Right now, today, how many people do you know, all right, if their child comes in and says, I'm in love with a Kenyan and I would like to settle? How many of us know parents who would actually agree to that?
You weren't joking when you said you'll spice it up.
Exactly why I said I'm passing you the hard questions.
So do you think as long as we have a mentality like that, do you think we would ever be able to integrate?
Yeah, no, you're right. Look, I mean, I think the sad reality is that I don't know many families that would be accepting of that, and it's sad that happens. But in a way, I think I'm not justifying, and I'm not saying it's okay, but it's literally the way things are now, right? How they're brought up, and how they are brought up, and then how they bring us up.
Yes,
I don't agree with it. I think it should change. The thinking should change, and I think you're right. As long as that thinking continues, then we are not learning, and then we're not passing those learnings down to our children.
Right.
Now, however, the thing and this whole Gen Z movement that's happening, the whole social media movement and information to your fingertips thing is helping that. So a lot of people are going against what their parents are trying to say, like, and it's happening more and more. We see it a lot more. So I think there is definitely a shift.
Now, when we see that shift, that's a good shift, right? But would that mean that people would end up losing their cultural, beliefs and everything with that shift?
I think that's our responsibility to allow our kids to be, but also not to lose that, the culture part of it. And I think it goes back to your previous question about the lady asking about someone speaking Gujarati at home, or it's also an age thing. I didn't think it was cool to speak Punjabi when I was home, when I was younger.
Right.
Now you ask me, I really want to, like I hoped I had learned Punjabi better. Okay, I can speak fluently, but I'd hoped I'd learned it at an earlier age. And as you get older, you want to associate yourself with your mother tongue and such things. So it might be an age thing too. But I think, just to sum it up, I really think the thought process of even integrating in marriage or things like that. It's a very controversial topic, and someone even brought it up at the summit, and we'd agreed we're not going to discuss it. It was one of those you put in the parking lot. You put in the parking lot because you don't want to say something wrong. But
Right.
I think it's changing. I think
It's
even
changing.
the thought process is changing. But I think we as Asians need to be a little bit more open-minded.
Okay.
Yeah, and,
All right.
and accepting.
Now, here's the thing. Definitely, Indian families, Pakistani families have really gone ahead, and we've done well in this country. A lot of us have definitely opened up industries that have hired a lot of people. We've created, companies and legacies, basically industries that would go ahead and help a lot of Kenyans, and of course, we have to appreciate Kenya for allowing us to do these things. But do you think somewhere along the mix, there isn't enough acknowledgement for the contributions of the Asian community towards Kenya's economy?
Maybe I should ask you, why do we want to be acknowledged? Why? I mean, you are running a business for yourself, your family, you're growing. Why do you want that acknowledgement?
Yeah.
Only because you're a different color. I don't think
Goes
we should
against-
even... Yeah, it goes against our principles. Why do you want it? I think a different way to look at it would be, what value am I adding anyway? Even if, okay, say I was in the West, would I expect the same? An acknowledgement from, a British country? Even if I was doing very, very well. The thing is, I think we need to look at things differently as
I
ourselves.
think even just asking, should we be acknowledged, is bringing about that entitlement. It's like, why? Like, if a local African person is running a successful business, they're not being given any special acknowledgement more than us. And I think, and to be honest, I think the Kenyan government does appreciate the Asian run businesses.
I think more than they should.
Yeah.
Actually,
They shout about it.
we're very well acknowledged as, and there's that perception that we are wealthier.
Yes.
It is a perception.
Yes.
So that acknowledgement is already there.
It's
But
already there.
We shouldn't want it.
We shouldn't want that. Do you think our future is going to be better as Kenyans? Now, when Mr. Bimal Kantaria was over here, okay, he did mention that things are not looking good. We're seeing a lot of people leaving the country, etc., and the population is going down. Do you think there's a better future for us?
I think our population has definitely dropped significantly because of the fear of the political situation in the country itself. But I also see the flip side of the Gen Zs mixing more, getting way more informed than we are. They know about politics more than us.
Yes.
I mean, they knew that finance bill on their fingertips better than us.
we saw them on the streets. Unlike the
We would hide.
Yeah, exactly.
We would hide. So
Yeah.
I think I see a different integrated Kenya for sure going forward. I really would want to say that I think we should encourage people to stay and not fear and get involved a bit more and show your value. Yeah.
I think the term of reverse migration
Yes.
is definitely happening. Like, I'm one of those who went out and studied and worked in the UK and then came back, and and it's I don't regret it one bit. And I think I think the question is not what does the future hold for Asians. I think just what does the future hold for Kenya, right? Is the right question to
Exactly.
ask.
So
And
that right there.
as the 44th tribe, I think the future is very bright for us. I think we'll see a lot more of us in politics. Maybe not at the vice president level, but they will be. And corporations, the business community is thriving. I think there's a lot for us here. I don't think that we have anything to be scared of.
Okay, all right. Before we conclude completely, got Sachin Parekh with a statement who says, "I don't think Asians are seen as the 44th tribe because till date there's no public holiday gazetted for our New Year." Your thoughts on that?
For sure. Hard question.
I think we have too many public holidays in Kenya anyway. I think it's a
And we make
disruption.
our own as well. When it's Diwali, we don't go to work.
Don't we have Diwali?
We
but,
do, yeah.
I don't
Is it-
think we need a public holiday to.
We don't. Because
be
indeed, we're the
integrated now.
44th tribe. We shouldn't ask for more. We should just be as part. When Kenya has a public holiday, that's our holiday as well.
Exactly. Or just be like me, celebrate everything you get. Whether it's Diwali, whether it's Christmas, whether it's Eid, you just celebrate it. It's fine.
Perfect.
Yeah. Maybe Sachin should go to Kasarani Stadium on Madaraka Day then.
This was, I don't usually talk this much, but this was brilliant. Thank you so much. And, I only hope there are more Kenyans like you, and definitely things will be looking better in the future with you too.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for
so
having
much.
us.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thanks.